Like,
You like actually let him choke you out, like.
I didn't let him. So, Alyssa, thanks for coming to the show.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. So, what was your process like for deciding the program that you're in now at Laurentian?
Going from like grade 11 to grade 12 was like such a huge transition because like grade 11, my parents were still like super on my back for like, take your sciences.
Right.
And then by the time I got to grade 12 and I was registered in all my sciences and like I had room for like one elective, which was my international business class, I was like, you know what, like I have an uncle that's in business, like he's a commerce guy, super like active in accounting and whatnot, and I was like, you know what, like I'm gonna take business. Because like my sister came from radiation therapy and I was just like, there's no way I can do sciences for the rest of my life. Like I had a grandmother that we took care of for 15 years and I was like, we're not, like I could never be in the healthcare field. And then the only other thing I saw school for sciences was like research or going to med school. I'm like, I don't want to do any of those. So that was essentially like the process I took, and like just like preparing myself to be like, well, mom, dad, like not going to the healthcare field.
Why didn't you want to? Like, what was the setting then? Just too much of like too emotional, like too many emotions for it, or?
I wouldn't say emotional. It's just like, if anything, I'm not emotional enough. Like I'm not compassionate enough to be
enough.
I'm not compassionate enough to take
that.
care of others. Like having my grandmother around for 15 years, like you just realize like, why would you want to expose yourself to that full time? Why would you want to have a job where you're constantly having to take care of someone and then coming home and being like, well, now I'm exhausted? And like, for people who truly want to be in that type of field, like I get it, like I do, but I could never be in that field. Like I would find that too like mentally draining.
Right. That's fair. So now, what's your program now?
Business. So I'm in business and I have a double major in finance and accounting.
So now for somebody like me who just hears that, or anybody really who just hears that, what would you say? Could you explain that further, what that program essentially entails?
Okay. So, yeah, I can. Business essentially is like just a vast variety of like everything pertaining to business. So you have your marketing classes, you have your accounting classes, you have general finance, you have even like some electives, because like in every program you have like 3 elective classes because you need to like diversify yourself. Management classes, I can't forget those. Management classes are like a key one in first year. So your first like 2 years are very general. So you're taking operations, marketing, finance, all that fun stuff. And then after that, that's when you specialize, or you start specializing in your second year. And that's when you can actually stream off. So you have your majors in finance, accounting, marketing, HR, operations, and I think there's a few more. So that's when you can like start deciding like which field you want to go off into, or you can just do a general like bachelor's degree of like business, which a lot of students do, because unless you have like a very specific plan with your specialization or like a job opportunity you're already kind of going to, like I know some people will do marketing because they're like, oh, like I already have like an in with a car dealership or whatever it might be.
Do you have an in with somewhere, or?
I didn't know. And like I kind of chose accounting because of my uncle. So
He's an accountant?
Yeah. Well, his wife currently is.
Okay.
And he was an accountant for a long time, but then he streamed off into finance, so that's kind of why I wanted to do both.
To get a bit of both and like understand which one to...
I feel like they're both very mathematically like important.
Right.
And I don't know, there's just always like I find there's a lot more jobs available in those fields. Whereas like marketing can be so competitive. Like if you want to do like a BBA in commerce, a BBA in marketing, you have to be constantly connecting yourself with the right people and trying to like get into the right stream, because it's just like you're competing with everyone.
Right.
That's why like I find like communications is kind of funny, because that's kind of where like communication students often stream off into, is into like the marketing field, because that's what their degree also is in. Like you're learning how to properly be like part of a sales team almost in like marketing, like you're trying to advertise for a company or whatever, and that's where like I find there's just so much competition in that field.
So that's why you're more specific towards finance and accounting.
Yeah.
Right. So now, do you have any marketing strategy advices you would have, like pieces of advice, or that you would have for somebody, say, doing a podcast and trying to just get, or even like small businesses and starting out? Like, how would you approach marketing for them? Like, if I hired you as a marketing strategist.
Okay, well, it depends. Like, you always have to have your target audience. So you have to choose, like, for you, like, you're trying to aim for people within our age category.
Right, like young adults, like 17, 18 to like 24, 25.
Exactly. People who are starting their careers, people who are in post-secondary, maybe like their last year of high school.
Right, like exactly, like the transitioning periods.
So that's why you have to really like research that market specifically, and how, okay, well, these people listen to Spotify, they listen to YouTube, you have to like advertise on like their sort of like social platforms. You would also, not only like would you just like apply a picture, but you would also be like, okay, like, you know what, like this age group specifically enjoys like this type of modern art. So like you wouldn't just post a picture of like anything. Like you would have to tailor it to like, oh, like we like things that are clean and fun, and like you would have to like advertise it in a way to be like, you know, like talk about people's experience, because like that's like a huge key to like our age group. We're always about like the experiences and like goal setting, because like that's such a huge thing in our age category. It's not like, oh, I'm gonna buy a house at the age of 18 and start a family. It's I want to be successful, like
really, what goals, short-term goals?
So you want to like, you almost want to tailor slogans and stuff to things like that. Like, what would like attract someone your age, a 23-year-old male? Like, what would catch your eye? Something like traveling wise, like, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So.
And that's what I was just talking to Chris, and Sadiq was asking you both actually about it, was with like the traveling. Then Chris got in like, oh, like, I don't know when I should do it. Like, I'm gonna do it potentially this year with a buddy of mine, or like next summer. It's like, I don't know. It's like, do it. Like, don't put it off.
Well, like you already did
neglect
it.
Yeah,
you like that was like your reward after.
It was the best.
After college was like, you know what? Like, I'm gonna finally I'm gonna put my full-fledged into this. Because you did it with James, and
shout out to him. Shout out to you, James Holden at jholden92, for anyone who enjoys landscape and outdoor adventurous photography lifestyle photos. Thank you. That's my plug for the day.
You should also check out his Midnight Newfie dog page.
Yeah. Oh, that's such a good. Man, he hasn't posted a lot about that one though, on that one lately, but
I missed her. I miss Midnight.
Me too.
She was a great dog.
She was a sweetheart. She shed like crazy, if you can imagine.
She did, but like.
It's alright. It's alright.
I've seen way worse dogs that shed way worse.
What type of dog shed worse?
Golden Retriever.
Keep a golden retriever.
His sister does.
Oh.
They're like.
I see.
It's bad. Like, my ex-boyfriend had one too, and I was just like dying every time I went to his house. I'm like.
But like James, it wasn't too bad.
I actually didn't find Midnight that bad. Like, for allergy wise, like she did shed.
Yeah.
But she shed it in like clumps too.
Yeah, it was more so clumps.
Like, it was never like, oh, you just had these annoying little hairs everywhere. It was like a lot of clumps, which is manageable.
True.
And like, James really cares for her. Like, he never.
Yeah, he's a pretty loving dog owner.
That's his baby girl.
Yeah, it is. But he'd be hilarious though, because when I'd ask him, be like, hey, dude, he'd be like, yo, I'm sending a Snapchat of like this dog, and I'll be like, yo, Neil, like James really works with the women and the dog, and he's like, yeah, I probably just send Snapchats like, hey, you want to come walk my dog with me? And then no one's like ever been like, no, it's okay.
That's literally what
I'm
he was
good.
saying. He's like,
Yeah.
that's how I get girls.
Yeah, so he says to me, he's like, dude, just buy a dog. I'm like, I'll just borrow yours, bro. So I just watch whatever he was in his clinical. I'd be like, yo, I'll take midnight. Take midnight, bro. So yeah. So do you have any slogans referring back to what you talked about? Do you have any slogans that you've seen that you don't like?
That I don't like.
Like for example, like Nike, just do it. Or, like,
I
other
love
ones
that
you've seen.
slogan.
Yeah.
Like that was actually genius. Like,
Right.
and then Shia LaBeouf, like his video made
Do it!
that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't think of any offhand that I really don't like. I've definitely seen ones I don't like. I find like a huge thing for me isn't even necessarily slogans that I find like I hate, but it's more so like the logos.
Okay. What makes a good logo to you?
Something clean. I find logos that are too like artistic. Like I don't like that for the simple fact that like when you look at a logo, that's like the first thing you're going to associate the product with.
Right.
So like as soon as you see Dodge products, you have like that annoying like bull or whatever. What is it?
It's a ram.
It's a ram.
Yeah.
I know.
But,
I think it's just
okay.
like it's such a key thing to like have something that's like relates to your product. That's clean. Like I've seen logos that are like very like you know what it is when you look at it, but it's not very clear cut.
Mm-hmm.
At least when you look at like the Dodge symbol,
Right.
you know exactly like you associate it to like if you can't dodge it, ram it. Like you always think of that slogan too. So it's just like.
Okay.
Have you heard of that slogan? All the trucks had that. Am I crazy? No, they had
Never heard that one time.
If you can't dodge it, ram it. A whole bunch of trucks had that. That was like a truck thing.
I guess like a sticker, like a bumper sticker. Is that?
Or like
Yeah,
it was
it's
like
more
on
bumper
the back
sticker.
of like the truck rear window. Like you saw that a lot.
Oh,
If you
yeah.
can't dodge it, ram it. Yeah.
I don't know. It's creative. It's funny, but meh. I have a Dodge. I like it. It drives sometimes.
Will
Depends
it
on the
last
temperature
though?
outside. Yeah. My brother was telling me like it's supposed to. It should. For like another week. At least it's starting to snow on the ground. Like it's like most days when they end, like it doesn't start. Sometimes when like if the day ends in Y, it typically doesn't start. But some days I push it out. I'll like that's why I park in my neighbor's driveway, because I just get all the speed coming up the corner, hit the bump, and that kind of like shoom takes me up into his driveway, and then all of a sudden I just put it and just roll.
We're gonna
down,
follow
and that
him
starts.
home.
No.
Yeah, we're gonna follow him
Like, you
home.
don't have to.
No, we're gonna follow him home after this, just so you can see the driveway. It's terrible.
So, referring back to the process that you went through in selecting your program, would you do anything differently with what you know now about the program or anything?
No.
No.
No. So like, I feel like that's like probably the biggest thing that bugs me is like going into college or university or choosing what you want to do after post-secondary is like after secondary
Mhm.
is like the hardest thing to do, because it's just like, how are you supposed to know at the age of 17 or 18 like I wanna do this for the rest of my life? Like,
Right.
like, did you know that you wanted to like do architecture? You
Not
thought
really.
you did,
Yeah.
and like it fit, so you did it.
Yeah, it's just one of those
You-
things you want to learn about.
Like you didn't know that you wanted to do automotive for the rest of your life. Like you were like, that's what I like, but
She's
like,
referring to her boyfriend who's behind the
yeah,
camera,
he's right on the side.
producing the show.
No, he's not.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's just like for me, I knew there was just something about it. Like I knew that I wanted it, and like even now, so like I still talk about like, oh, I want to do like a nutrition degree. Like I just constantly want to do like more
Right.
education, and nutrition is probably the only like health field that I actually really like.
Mm-hmm.
but my degree is just so applicable.
Right.
So applicable. It's like, even if I didn't do anything at all in finance or marketing or anything industry-wise,
yeah.
I would still be using it every day. And then it's just like, whenever I tell someone I have a business degree and like we get talking about that, it just brings up so many conversations and I love it. And like, I like talking about money, as weird as that sounds. Like,
right.
I like being able to like discuss like, what's the best way to do this, or what's the best way to do whatever. And like, a lot of people don't have like common knowledge of like TFSAs and
right.
RRSPs and like planning for the future. And I just think that's really cool. I don't know.
So speaking of that, I'm going to ask you 2 questions, but first, one, could you explain for people who don't know, who aren't familiar, who banks just tell? Because when banks sell you on an account, typically they make commission, right? Is that correct? Or they gain some form of income off you, like they profit from it. Is that how that works?
Kind of.
Okay.
So, the way, from my knowledge anyways, like the way individuals make money who like are setting up your accounts and stuff is
right.
when you start doing investments. So underlying 221 of income taxes, you're able to deduct any fees associated to investments that earn you income. So like, if you buy $500 worth of stocks and then you have to pay like a transfer fee and a professional fee and I don't know, some form of tax on it, that would all be a deductible underlying 221
No
because
kidding.
you were trying to claim, like you were trying to earn income by investing.
Right.
So it's just another way of earning money, right? Like, it's not like you're trying to get T4 income out of it. And that's how they make money, is like as soon as you start investing. So if you were like, oh, I want to set up a TFSA account and I want to invest through my TFSA account because everything that I make in that isn't taxable,
Free, yeah.
then you can easily be like, okay, like invest in low risk stocks in my TFSA.
Mm-hmm.
Those people who are doing that for you
Right.
and saying, okay, like we're setting it all up into like this industry of stocks for you at low risk, that's how they're making money. So it's not like, oh, I go to the bank and I'm setting up a savings account.
Right. It's a little more.
And like banks, like that's actually the biggest way that banks make money is by charging you bank fees. Like when you take out money and stuff, that's like the biggest way they make income is through minimum, like, or if you make minimum payments on like, let's say your car, or your mortgage, or your visa, that's the biggest way banks make money.
Banks make money off minimum payments. So say, for example, then we'll go into it. If you have a mortgage on a house and the minimum payment is it's 5%, for example, 5% mortgage payment, just for the sake of the conversation, then how would they make money on that?
Like, you know how usually, like, if you were to buy a house that's like $250,000
right.
and your monthly mortgage payment is like $1,400. On that monthly mortgage payment, just like a visa, you have the option, if like you're low on money that month, to pay like a minimum amount of like whatever the set rate was.
Right.
Like if it's for a mortgage, I actually don't know how much it would be for a mortgage, but usually on like a visa, it's like $30 or something.
Mm-hmm.
You're not actually, most of that $30 isn't actually getting paid towards your principal payments, getting paid towards interest. So that's how they make money, is off of like that interest.
Off that interest, like so they'll make the interest on the payments towards like a mortgage, payments towards a car payments, or payments towards like just
line
like
of credit,
your typical line of
everything.
credit, MasterCard.
Because like there's
right.
always going to be an interest rate, and that's how they make.
That's how they make money.
Or if like they're charging you to take money out of your account. If you went over like so many. Like if you're taking money out of your bank account through a debit card and you're only allowed to do it like so many times a month at like at the machine,
right?
That's like one of the biggest ways to make money.
Yeah, and I know because I had that, and then I guess I used it a few times, and I wasn't aware, and I was like, oh, I have no idea about
You're
this.
like, why is there like a $4?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then I was like, you could pay $4 a month and have unlimited, right? But paying that unlimited.
Or if you
at
have a
$4
student
back.
account, it's free. It's unlimited.
Really?
Yeah.
So then how do you set up the student account? Is that just if you're a certain age, or you need to qualify?
As soon as you're under 18, like, you qualify for a student account, obviously. But like, I was still on a junior account. Like, I didn't know that. So
Right.
I went to my bank, and when I had originally set up my original like bank savings account back when I was like 12 or 13 with my dad, they never changed it. So like, I was only allowed to take like $100 out of my bank account per transaction, and I could only do it like twice a day or something. And so there's like different types of student accounts, and like that was like specifically set in place because like I was 13 probably
Right.
when I got it, but they were like, oh, like, you're obviously not a junior anymore, like why are you still on that account? They changed it over to still a student account, so like nothing really changes.
Nice.
But it's just like a classification for them, I guess. But let's say like your girlfriend, if she doesn't have a student account, she could literally just go to her bank and be like, I'm a student at their end, and like set me up an account.
And that would mean she doesn't get charged if she takes over a certain amount that the bank has set up, right?
Yeah, so like if she wants to like go and pull out $100 5 times a day, like she could.
But if she doesn't have that student account, she potentially could get
And
charged.
it's different. It's different for banks. Like it's different per bank.
Which bank do you use? TD?
I use more than one bank, but RBC doesn't charge me.
Right. Why is that? Like, why more than one bank? Don't you get loyalty benefits if you're...
You gotta shop around. You gotta see who gives you the best deals.
That's a good point. That was you actually, yeah, now I remember that. It was you who told me, you're like, yo, don't go look at just one bank for the mortgage appraisal.
Yeah.
But I think...
As soon as you
Was
do,
it you who told me that?
as soon as you do too many,
Yeah,
it hurts
was
you.
It was you. Yeah, it was you, and I thank you for that, because I was like, oh, I'm just gonna, because who was it? Like the bank guy told me, like, yeah, look here, and then my realtor was like, yeah, shop around as well. And people were like, oh, look around at different banks, but then you're like, if you look around to see who's gonna get you the biggest, best mortgage rate, it might hurt you more short term, because you would have done 7 when the limit's at 5. So.
Yeah, because it just looks bad. I don't know why, like how they like mathematically pre-calculate that.
I'm not sure about
But like apparently like that hurts your credit. Yeah.
Right.
I never knew that, but and there's a difference between pre-qualification and getting pre-approved.
Mhm.
So like I think pre-qualification is kind of stupid because you should kind of know what you're getting pre-qualified for,
That's a good point.
because
Yeah.
they're going to look at like basic things like you're single, you're a male, you're a female. They're going to look at your last 12 months of employment. They're going to look to see whether or not your job is permanent or not.
Right.
So like I don't know if you're technically considered perm or not.
Yeah, I don't know. I like to believe the world is my classroom.
That's what I'm saying.
Because it's like, oh, I can't imagine being 21, getting a job, and just doing that for till I'm like, what, 65? Fuck that.
But like that's the thing. Like they'll look at whether or not like you're on a contract or if your job's permanent. And I know some jobs like don't have either. They just kind of employ you and like
Yeah.
they would lay you off if they no longer need you, sort
Yeah,
of
I
thing.
think that's kind of how my job is, though.
Yeah. And so that's why like you could literally get a letter from your employer stating like, you know what, like we have no intentions of getting rid of this guy, like we plan on keeping him if like that's kind of like
Right.
where you're at in your employment, and that would help.
That would benefit.
That would benefit like how much you could get approved for. But like
Interesting.
essentially if you know you're making like $40,000 a year, you probably won't qualify for like $250,000
Right.
in a mortgage, like, and they're gonna look at like geographically where you're buying.
True. Why is that? Like, just like because buying, whether in the South End versus the Donovan.
No, like geographically, like in Ontario. So like if
Oh.
you're getting pre-approved for a mortgage up here in the north, like they're going to assume you're buying in the north,
Right. I get that.
which is like an important factor.
So what's then the difference between, for that example, between buying up north here in Sudbury versus down south in Toronto or Barrie? Like, would you get approved for more there?
Honestly, I don't know. I do not know because houses up here are cheaper, so they would probably factor in like you don't need as much. I don't know.
Right.
But like the thing is, like the north is booming.
Mhm.
Like so much more is happening up in Sudbury. And that's why I think like even the like market for like in the valley will eventually boom, because I think we're going to be due for a recession shortly. And then I think like after we have that like trough, like we'll go up in the economy, like we'll have that like little roller coaster. And I think like, you know, we'll eventually have like a recession within the next few years, like 2-3 years, and then we're going to go up. We're going to have like the boom in our economy once everything's like built, because there's a whole bunch of other businesses that are coming to Sudbury, mining, other shit like that. Right. And that's going to like benefit us once that's all done. And that's also when the like housing market's going to be like.
Right.
And that's also like a key thing, like when you're buying houses, is to look at how the economy is doing, because if you see that there's a lot of other, what's the word, and like housing companies, like people who build houses, like Delron and stuff. Yep. If you see like that,
like the developers.
Yeah, if you see that they're building houses, that's like a key perspective to look at, because that's probably going to mean like the economy's going to be booming.
Right. Okay, so can you explain me then, because I'm curious what leads to a recession for people who don't know, because I have a surface level knowledge about that.
That's just like a lot to say at once. Essentially, there's like quite a few things that drive our economy, and like that's why I wanted to mention about the housing market. That's like one of the key indicators, is to be watching how to be watching like the developers, and to be watching the interest rates, because essentially the government kind of controls the economy, and in order for, like, we need recessions. As silly as that sounds, like we need recessions to stay as like a healthy economy, because it's normal to have like the troughs and the booms, and you have to look at how the government's distributing money, because when you're looking at how it's distributing money, the more output it's putting, like money-wise, so outputs and inputs, is how you look at the recession.
Right.
And then if you look at also the interest rates that bank sets. So as soon as a bank sets like a low interest rate, you know that like the housing market's going to be booming. You know that people are going to be buying houses, all that. You're going to be at like the peak in your economy. Everyone's going to be spending money, like, you know, minimum wage went up, all that. And then you're going to see like the economy is going to eventually go back down once outputs from the government's going to stop.
True.
And then like usually when the economy, like you're going to know that the economy is going to start going down when the bank starts setting higher interest rates.
Okay.
Because people won't want to buy, like a lot of people on their mortgage don't have like a set interest rate, so they have like a fluctuating interest rate. That's like a huge driver to the economy too. Yeah. So it's just like you have to be watching things like that. Stock markets, like if you're watching the stock market, like be watching like specifically like the TSX stock market versus like everything that's happening elsewhere, because like the TSX one is like a huge driver to like how we're doing in Canada.
Okay.
And that's why like Action Dollarama stocks, we did Dollarama for our finance project for my Finance 2 class.
Right.
And that's actually like one of the discussion points I said in that presentation, was the fact that Dollarama, because of the industry that falls in, it's consumer goods, right? You're always going to need that type of stuff regardless of how the economy is doing.
Right.
That's why like the Dollarama stock was such like a beneficial stock to buy. Not to mention, if you would have bought Dollarama stocks during the last recession and you bought like a good chunk of it, you probably would be a millionaire right now, because like Dollarama stocks also went down like considerably enough,
right,
but not enough in comparison to like other stocks that just like
crashed. Right. So
But
just-
like that's why
okay.
like Dollarama, like they stay like pretty consistent within like the graph, because it's just like you're always going to need that type of stuff. It's just like grocery stores, like you can't stop buying food.
Right, everybody's got to eat.
And that's also why like even when our dollar, like our minimum wage went up, that's why you didn't see that there was a huge inflation in groceries and stuff like that, is because people had more money to buy stuff.
Right.
So there was more money going back to the economy. It didn't actually hurt.
I get it.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why like a lot of people were like, you know, like it's not like a good thing that minimum wage went up. And I do see the perspective, but it's also like more money was going back into the economy now because more people are willing to spend.
Right, it's like when you people. That's why people who make more money or they get a raise, they just end up buying more, right? Like they always want to get higher of a lifestyle, make more money, so they can spend more. It's a vicious
cycle. That's not the case for everyone, obviously.
True.
And yeah, that's also why you see people who are like multimillionaires, like they got lucky, like they were either born into money or they were just able to really play the stock market well. That's also kind of why I don't really believe in the stock market, because like a lot of people, what you see is that a lot of people will set up a TFSA account, they'll do their maximum contribution space every year, and they'll invest within that TFSA or they'll invest within whatever, and they'll specifically invest in the stock market. But it's just like, unless you're like constantly babysitting your stocks, which you know, that's kind of like a full-time job.
It's kind of what you have to do, yeah.
Which isn't realistic, because you can't just babysit them. You can't.
No.
So it's either like you have to leave them for a year, check on them. You're never probably going to make a lot of money that way. That's why I think researching the stock market is like the most important thing, knowing what industry you're falling into and how you think like specifically a company is going to work out. Like if we could have all predicted like Apple would have turned out the way it would have turned out, it's like, yeah, everyone would have bought penny stocks way back in the day of Apple. But that's why I'm saying, like, I don't really believe in the stock market unless you are specifically dedicated into researching the businesses you want to buy into and knowing like how it's gonna probably play out. Like I know like a lot of people were like, let's buy Tesla, but it's just like, look at how Tesla ended up turning out. So it's like, you need to know when to pull out your stocks too. You got to know when to say, okay, like enough is enough. Like I'm going to take the loss or I'm going to take the gain and leave.
It's like people just want to invest in it because it's like, oh, just because, for example, we use Tesla. It's like, oh, this is the big thing right now. Let's invest in it right now. It's going to be huge. It's probably it's like you have to do your research and know. Because I at first had that mentality about stocks like 4 or 5 years ago. I was like, oh, I've just invest in stocks, become a millionaire. You know, it's not as easy as it like seems.
It's probably like the hardest job that like is ever out there, unless like you actually just got. You're like unless you're like actually just the luckiest person that like made a really good investment where you're like, I'm gonna invest like X amount of money into this stock and it just worked out for you, then like kudos to you. But I don't know, I think it's like the stock market's too scary of a place to.
So with that being said, in the stock market with the recession, do you find it's better than consumer goods like Dollarama, best to invest in those when the recession's low? Because then you know is it going to increase as a stock, or what do you think?
When buying within a recession, you also kind of have to plan out your recession or be planning for the stock to maybe possibly get worse before it gets better. Because you don't know exactly how cheap you can get that stock.
That's a good point. Yeah.
So you're just going to have to either keep watching it, keep babysitting it, you know, analyzing like the previous stock history and like the previous economy history, being like, okay, like I think this is probably the best time I can buy within a recession, like this is the lowest the stock's gonna get, whatever the case may be. But you also have to accept the fact that it might get worse before it gets better. You have to accept that like usually like when you're doing when you're within a recession and you're going into the boom,
Mm-hmm.
it's not like a clean slope, right? Like it's
Yeah.
usually like pretty wonky. So it's like you might have to accept that it might go way down at the halfway point before it goes back up. Or you might have to accept that like you're gonna have to babysit it, you're gonna have to take out, and you're gonna have to take the gain when you feel comfortable pulling out. Like
True.
that's just the way I see
Right,
it.
it's not as easy as... Oh, because you can invest in it, and then it could also go down further, and then you'd have less money, and it could stay there. It could also go up, go down, and not actually benefit you as much as you
Like I
probably
know
prefer
my
to.
father had lost like quite a few. Like I think he lost like $10,000 or $20,000 once because like yeah. So like so like he had originally put like I know. He was super upset about it too.
Yeah,
It's just like he had to realize too that let's say he had put, I don't know, I honestly don't know how much he had put in, but let's say he started with, let's say, 30,000, and he made that 30,000 eventually get into like 100,000. I'm just throwing out
Right.
numbers here. Even losing that $20,000 isn't necessarily a bad thing because he still came out with a gain.
Mm-hmm.
And like a lot of people don't realize, and it's like unless you're investing within that TFSA, if you're making $50,000 off of the stock market, that $50,000 that year is 100% taxable. So it's like if you're already making $50,000, you got a $50,000 from the stock market,
Mm.
you're getting taxed within like almost the highest tax bracket.
Yeah.
So like, is that money like you're not even making that?
Is
thing?
it even 50,000 at
No.
that point? Right. So then you've explained the tax-free savings account, but can you explain what RRSPs are? Because I know briefly, I'm probably less about that than most accounts, but can you explain that one?
RRSPs are less fun than TFSAs though.
Yeah.
Okay. RRSPs are Registered Retirement Savings Plan. That's the full name for it. So not an RSP.
I have RRSP.
Yeah.
I might have missaid it, but
No, RRSPs are. I hate when people say RSPs because that's something different. But anyways, essentially what happens with RSPs is they come off of your gross income. So if you're making a gross income of $50,000 a year before
Right.
taxes, that comes off of your gross income. So it literally looks like when you're going to go do your income taxes, it looks like you're only making $40,000 that year if you
Mhm.
contributed $10,000 to your RRSPs. And then this way, only $40,000 of your money for that year is getting taxed at the $40,000. The other $10,000 goes into your RRSPs, and that money is not taxed. So it only gets taxed once you take out the RRSPs and you retire. So when you retire, you're like, okay, I'm going to take out $10,000 because that's all I need. I have a savings account. I only want $10,000. Then that money is not actually getting taxed, right?
right.
Because
Mm.
you would
Okay.
be in the minimum income bracket.
Right.
Besides like your other like old age pension and
Mhm.
stuff like that, you'd be in like you wouldn't be a taxable person. So like that's the only way that And then another way is the fact that you have two options to take out of your RRSPs.
Okay.
Is one for the lifelong learning plan. So you're allowed to take out, I think, $10,000 a year for 4 years. I think it's 4 years.
Okay.
But yeah, so it's $10,000 a year if you're going back to school. And that money wouldn't be taxed yet, but you have to recontribute to your RSPs. Like, so if you took $40,000 out to go back to school, that $40,000, once you start working again, you'd have to start recontributing. So you have to replace that money, but
Yes.
it's also like you're loaning yourself money that hasn't been taxed yet,
And
right?
you don't, but do you get charged interest on that?
No.
Or no?
No.
Okay, so it's different than
And then
a loan. Typical.
But you're loaning yourself the money. You just
Yeah,
have to give
so-
it back because it hasn't been taxed yet, right? And
And
then-
then you get to be taxed, yeah.
And then same thing with the first time home buyers plan.
Mhm.
So let's say hypothetically like you and Jillian got a house together. She graduated, you you're in a good financial position, you want to go buy a house together.
Right.
You each would be entitled to $25,000 if you guys both had your own RRSPs.
Okay.
So you'd be able to put that money towards a house
Oh shit.
for your down payment.
Right.
And then Sudbury actually had like a cool thing that is happening for the rest of this month actually, and you probably have seen it, but I guess for like rental purposes, like Sudbury's trying to clear up some rental space, and they're offering $29,000 loans, interest free,
Okay.
for first-time home buyers. So you have to come with like your pre-approval for a mortgage from a bank. You have to show like you have a rent receipt, and I think there's like a few other criteria that you had to meet, and you were able to. Oh, and your mortgage had to be under like $300,000. I think it was like $293,000 something.
Okay.
But you could get up to a $29,000 loan to put as your principal payment.
Right.
Towards a house,
Okay.
because Sudbury was trying to clear up rental space, I
Yeah.
guess, because that was one of the criteria. They wanted you to show a more like a rent receipt to be like. So I guess for whatever reason they're trying to clear up rental space, and yeah, I thought that was a pretty like
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, like that's a pretty cool incentive,
Oh.
because like that's like a huge concern within our generation is like it's not necessarily being able to afford a mortgage, it's being
Right.
able to have that principal payment, right?
Mhm.
Being able to be
Sure.
like, we don't have enough for the down. That's
Right.
typically the situation for a lot of young people, so
Okay. Cool.
yeah.
Yeah. So, with that being said, do you have any jeez. Do you have any brief financial advice you would give to anyone watching who isn't as knowledgeable about it as you are, and even as base knowledgeable as I am about it? Like, I just read about it, so
Yeah.
I have that perspective. But
I think for a lot of people, it's just putting the plan in place. So it's very important to just like be setting aside money every paycheck, no matter how much it is. Like if you're saying, okay, like I have all these bills still, like I have my car and I have school, like OSAP debt or whatever, and you're like, I just want to get these bills paid off first. I think it's really key to just be still setting aside like a portion of your paycheck, every paycheck, to a specific savings account that you're not going to touch, and be like, okay, like this is what I'm setting aside for me.
Mhm.
And I think it's really important to just really contribute to your TFSAs.
TFSAs.
Because every year the government puts a cap on how much you can contribute to your TFSAs, and that's why like I think they're just cooler than RRSPs, because it's like if I think the cap this year is $6,000. So you can put $6,000 of your money into a TFSA, and everything that you make in there is tax-free. You can be investing within a TFSA, and
you don't get taxed
like
on
I think it's really cool.
Yeah.
So like that's why I would say like if anything, even if you're putting $100 a paycheck into your TFSA, like it's gonna get to a point where like I right now have like $32,500 of like contribution space. If you don't have a TFSA right now, you're 23.
Mhm.
He probably has like almost close to a $40,000 contribution space. So the reality is, like, you might be able to catch up to your $40,000 contribution space. But if you just keep letting that sit, you're gonna have like hundreds,
Yeah.
like $100,000 of contribution space where you're like, I'm never gonna be able to like get all my money in there.
Mhm.
And I just think that's important because it's like that's tax-free money that you can you could be investing.
Right. So it's best to you, in your opinion, then,
So like even
to
if you're
invest
just
out of tax-free.
yeah, so
Sure.
even if you're just putting it into the TFSA and not doing anything with the money right away, at least you're putting it there. It's
True.
there. You can, and then if you take the money out for whatever rainy day you need or whatever, like the money's there. You can recontribute. You'll regain that space if you take out from
Mhm.
it. So
Sure.
yeah.
Okay. That's pretty cool. So what is your, let's just switch topics a little bit.
Oh,
What does
God.
your ideal job look like? Like, take us through a typical day in your ideal job.
my ideal job.
So the one you're either could be working towards that you might potentially have at the end of your schooling career, or the one how perfect world would work out.
To not work at all. To never have to work another day in my life. Honestly, I think as much as I hate like marketing and stuff, I think like the world of YouTubing is like kind of amazing that you see so many like young people who are making so much money because of like advertisement through YouTube.
Right.
So like I don't know about you, but I love watching like traveling vlogs on YouTube, and then just like these people are like living their lives, like being able to travel, like film like what they're seeing around them, and you know, they're just genuine like fun people. I think that would be like something like, if I could do anything, that would be it. That probably won't ever be necessarily the case just because of like who I am, but I don't know. I think it's like really amazing. And it's so cool to see that like there were so many YouTubers that I started watching when I was like really young that like they weren't like YouTube famous, and now it's just like
they are.
Yeah. It's just like they're swimming in money, and it's like they were just literally doing it because they were in like university or college or whatever, and they're like, this is just, you know, I want to vlog my life. Like this is like something like I just enjoy.
It's the whole document the process thing. It's
like, yeah, and like that's something you're super into, obviously, because we're here.
Yeah,
and it's just crazy to like just be in the generation that saw that. Like, I think it's like ridiculous. Like, and then our parents, because I think our parents are in the same age category. Yeah. Like
late 40s to early to late 50s within that.
And they're just like, they think it's craziness. So. Like, their generation has seen everything. They saw like us grow up. They saw like how like technology changed. They went from nothing to like
just now everything.
Like to like I don't know. I think that's awesome.
I appreciate both your times, especially yours right now. Well, obviously, especially both yours.
I'm the best. I don't know.
So, one thing with that is, you mentioned a while ago, I think it was when you guys went to a Toronto car
show. Toronto car show.
Yeah, how was it?
Amazing.
It's good?
It was amazing.
Nice.
Toronto is like the scariest place to me. Like, I know you love it, but like, it's so intimidating.
Why is that? Just big, tall, fast kind of?
No, it's not even like that. It's just like, for you, like you left Ottawa, and like, you know the difference between like Sudbury lifestyle and Ottawa lifestyle, being away from home, and I've never experienced that, obviously.
Right.
And it's just like, it's really weird to me to go to Toronto and be in a place where like no one cares. Like, traffic is in the middle of the road.
It's nice.
People are walking in front of cars. People are honking at each other. You fucking don't know where anything is.
Yeah, people are fighting.
Because everything is like friggin' within a kilometer walk, but you don't know where anything is because it's all just dispersed. And I'm just like, in Sudbury, you just know where everything is.
Right. Yeah, that's fair. As much as it is a 20-minute drive to get there.
And it's just like, you could stop anywhere, and someone would directly be able to say, okay, go here, here, and then here. You're at your
Everyone you ask
point
would be
B.
able to answer your question.
Someone would be able to answer your question. And then you'd have people in Toronto who are being like, do you know where this is? So I'm like, I'm not even from here.
It's like, no, sorry.
No,
I don't know. I do not speak English.
It's just like an intimidating place. Sure. I think if I actually lived there and like, you know,
it's more time
I got a bike,
more experience,
and I
feel more comfortable.
I finally got a feel for the lay of the land. Like, I could do it, but I don't think I would ever want to live the Toronto lifestyle forever.
Sure.
Even you came back home.
Yeah, for a bit. We'll see. I'm like looking because I don't want to live in Toronto. I think if I did, I'd want to live on the outskirts. I would 100% go back to Ottawa and live there.
Ottawa's so nice.
It's a gorgeous city.
Ottawa's a much different feel from Toronto.
Yeah, both are much different feel from here.
Yeah.
But in Ottawa, everything is just so much more well put together. And I think Toronto has everything, but Ottawa's laid out better.
It is.
And that was to Neil's point when we were driving through Ottawa. He was like, man, like Toronto has everything. But Ottawa does too. Mm-hmm. But Ottawa's laid out much more smooth. But everyone's like, oh, why is it laid out? Well, the bus system. I'm like, yeah, because it's the nation's capital. Like it should be, right? But anyways, where I was going with this was, you mentioned when I was asking you about if you were free on the weekend to record, this was way back, and you guys were going to Toronto, but you said I have cool videos. You said it's a shame you're not going because
I know.
you have cool videos.
I feel like that would have been like the perfect vlog for you. It would have like.
That's true.
Because I know you and you went and like visited like the Tech 9 concert and stuff, and you just kind of like you vlogged it. And I feel like this would have been like, it was just like a crazy car scene, because it's like, unless you go to things like that, when are you going to be in a room full of like 500 vehicles that are all like pristine, like they have the best fitment, like you're not going to see like wheels like that anywhere else, like,
right.
I don't know.
It would have been pretty cool.
It would have been,
vlog.
yeah.
Yeah, those kind of like.
Go ahead.
I travel blogged a bunch when I was with James through Europe and stuff, and I wanted to do something with that. It's just trying to figure out what to do,
because
like how to create a story about it.
You probably
now
have
I'm
so
a lot
much
better at
footage,
it.
yeah. And it's just like now that you're back
So much
home,
shit.
but I feel like if you could have, you were also backpacking, so if you would have had like the equipment to be able to like do it as you went, like, you know, go back home, like back to your wherever you were staying,
exactly,
and like be able to like edit like the video every like week or every few days or whatever you chose to do. Like that probably would have made like a cool storyline for a lot of people.
Yeah, and I think looking back on it, I'm happy how it all went, but what I would do differently was I'd try to edit it. I would try to be better at I was so uncomfortable in trying to develop, because it's tricky with two things. One, being on camera when you're filming yourself and listening it back. Luckily with podcasting and traveling, like vlogging when I was in Europe, I'm used to how my voice sounds back on camera, so I'm not like cringy like we all are when we hear the Snapchats that we're not intended to be in. And then excuse me, but then with all that, now I'm a lot more comfortable and I have a developed personality on camera, at least when I vlog. Like it's a little different. It's not like, hey, because that's not, it's trying too hard to be funny, and people are like
that's
really
the, like the development you've seen in like some YouTubers too, is like, you know, I started watching them as a kid because like they were funny to me and they were like so like kind of outrageous, and now it's just like their style of YouTubing has completely changed.
Yeah, and they've found their own.
And like that's the thing, that's what I find really cool about like advertisement, is how advertisement is still like, you still see it on TV, people still watch cable, but it's just like now it's just leaning so much more towards YouTube. And like, it sounds so terrible to say, but like I'm kind of excited to see what happens after, like, let's say our parents' generation is all kind of gone, and we get to see like what this has in store for like the next generation, because I don't think cable's gonna stay. Like there's no way cable's gonna be like a thing anymore unless
streaming is all.
That's what I was about to say. Like you're gonna see like the live streaming for fights and for like sports and all of that stuff. But it's just like I wanna see where like the world of advertisement goes, because it's like I remember like watching like when the Super Bowl would happen and like you'd be like, oh my god, like some people would watch it just for like the commercials, because that's when all the new commercials came out. And now it's just like you do it through YouTube. That's where all the cool things happen, and it's like advertisements used to be like a minute long. Like they used to be so.
Now we don't like the 15-second ads that we can
we're like trying to get rid of them.
Skip it's a full iPhone 11 app.
You can buy YouTube Premium now.
Yeah, it's like, oh cool.
$15 a month, get YouTube Premium.
Fuck, I'd only do it for Cobra Kai. You guys seen Cobra Kai? What that is? So you know you remember the Karate Kid?
Yeah.
They do like a whole 30 years later thing with the same actors and actresses. So I think that's pretty cool. Like I'd watch it only for that, but streaming right now is fights only. Whole reason I watch streaming is just for fights.
See, it's all about the fights.
Sick. We watch a bunch of it. I tried to watch last night's, but like we have, because I train, right? So there's a bunch of people who they have Flow Grappling, and a bunch of them have ESPN. So like I watched Khabib and Dustin last weekend at the gym, and I was like, sick. That was a sick fight to watch. So I didn't have to pay for that. And then as well, there's like fights as they go, and a couple people with like Fight Pass, a couple people with ESPN, a couple people with like YouTube Premium. So I'm like, I'll just hang out with you, not pay for nothing. So appreciate you guys for that, for saving me some money, but yeah, it's how my streaming thing kind of works. So
I don't know, I'm just excited to see where that goes too.
Yeah, me too. It'll be interesting. I hope commercials still stay, and I hope they still have live stuff.
Oh, commercials will always stay. It's just like how's our advertisement's going to change, right?
Right. That's a good point. So one last topic I want to cover.
One last thing. Oh no.
And then I'll leave you guys to it. Relationships.
Shit.
We all know this had to come up because I like talking relationships when it's with women, because my guy friends are just naive. Like, girls don't know that much, but like they say stupid things and stuff. So what specifically, do you have any relationship lessons learned you'd be willing to share? What?
Of course you'd be asking me that question.
I'd ask you if he was here or not. We both know this.
Yeah, I know. You always have to. Like relationships, like dating relationships or like friendship relationships?
Both, because when I had Michaela on a couple weeks ago.
Oh yeah.
I asked her stuff, and I like kind of went down that road as well with her, because I want to get to understanding what, like, why do guys do this, or like, even for example, what are some like weird things that guys done that you're like, why would you do that? Because she had a weird ass one, like a guy stopped during sex to say, how could your ex-boyfriend break up with you? And I was like, that's weird. Like, that's pretty weird.
I don't have words for that.
Yeah, neither do I. I was like, oh.
Okay, here's a good one.
Okay.
I'm gonna connect it to like someone else.
Nice.
So, essentially, like one of my sister's friends, she was engaged. She broke off her engagement, and she just didn't feel right about it. I guess like it wasn't for her. And now I know that she's like seeing more than one person, and like I feel like she's kind of at the stage where she doesn't feel as though, or she doesn't believe that there's ever one person who can fulfill everything in your life, right? Mm-hmm. You're not going to find a super person.
No, they don't
and
exist.
I think that's probably like the biggest thing that I've learned, is especially thinking of that, because when my sister came home and we were talking about that, it made me think of just like my past relationships and like being with Cole and whatnot, and thinking like, you know what, like there is never going to be a person who's going to do or say everything right that I want them to. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And I know I'm not going to be able to give that back.
Right.
So I think like a key thing is being able to like compromise and like being able to fill in the gaps that make you happy. So it would be like, you know, I really like doing this. Like, let's say dance. I'm gonna say dance for my example. Like, nice. Dance makes me so happy. Like, I love like going out with like my friends, and like that was a huge part of my life. And like, you know, guys nowadays, like, they don't want to dance with you because you guys all suck. But like, I know you do. But like that's the thing. Like, if you're with someone who doesn't necessarily want to do all the same things you want to like do, that shouldn't matter if they still make you happy. Right. You're able to still fill in the gaps that make you happy.
Yeah, isn't that what it matters, what it comes down to, and what it should come down to at the end of the day, is if you enjoy and you're happy when you're spending time with them, it's more about how they make you feel about yourself, right? Than it is filling in like, oh, I do this. I don't want someone, because I've also thought about this, like, oh, you want to find someone like you? It's like, I fucking hope not. No. I don't want to date somebody like me. We argue all the time. It's like, why not just date myself? You know, so.
That would be a perfect relationship.
For like 8 minutes. And then it'd be like, all right, I hate this guy. But
You're a lot to take in.
Fair. Fair.
So yeah, I don't know. I think like that's a huge thing, right? Like you gotta find someone that makes you happy and where you're willing to compromise. Like, I'm never going to get a reaction from even my friends, like how I constantly want them to react to like whatever I'm trying to say, but you have to learn to be able to fill in the gaps, and you also have to learn to just, I think compromise is such a huge thing. I remember saying that at the last one. Yeah. But I remember like just in like my past relationships, I think that's where like a huge thing went wrong in like so many things, is like people need to just be more considerate of their actions.
Right.
Like even like my sister, for example, like when we were in Toronto with her, or even like when she was at home with us, she's been so used to being by herself all this time
Right.
that she's never had others she has to consider in her actions. So it's like for me, like it's not weird for me to be like, oh hey Cole, like do you want to come do this with me? Do you want to maybe like think about doing this together or getting this together or whatever? You know what I'm saying? Whereas she's never had that interaction.
Right. She's never been not codependent, but working with somebody else in that way.
And like that's like a huge thing people just need to learn is to
Right. Just have the open mind is to be able to the ability to compromise is huge.
and to just be considerate. Like
Fair.
you're a team now. Like
Right.
let's work together.
True. Don't like my way or the highway. 'Cause it's like,
Yeah.
well, now it's nobody's way.
Yeah.
It's like you
Because
can drive
you're
that
just
highway
gonna-
solo.
You're just gonna make
Yeah.
two people unhappy, including
True.
yourself. So yeah.
So you mentioned dancing and going to the club.
Oh,
and
no.
Stuff. I know you're.
I don't go to the club though.
So okay, when you used to, whenever.
I never used to.
Yeah, okay, I believe you. So, what's your go-to club move? Like, do you have a go-to club dance move?
No.
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 What do you mean no?
Oh, he's it's not a club dance move. I do this in the car all the time. The Ariana Grande move and all of her like.
Oh, let's see it. Just real quick before we finish. We're gonna
Okay,
finish in a couple
this
seconds.
is okay. Yeah, this is her new like. It's not new. She does it on every
Let's
freaking
see
music
yours,
video.
yeah,
It's
alright.
like. It's like her like rapper.
Okay. And you just do that in the club. You just click your heels.
I don't go to the club.
Okay, but that's your go-to.
Yeah, I do
Nice.
it all the time.
Fair.
That or like. What do I even do? It's like
Okay.
you do this.
There we go. There we have it.
We have it.
Nice. So I appreciate your time, Alyssa. Thank you very
Oh.
much.
Thanks for the tea.
Nah, no problem.